day 15 of how to grow your donor base in 20 days with Funding for Good. My name is Mandy Pierce and I'm the owner of Funding for Good. And welcome to our offices here in Hickory, North Carolina. Today we're going to talk about how to intentionally plan to increase your community presence. Being a development director, whatever your title is, director of development, resource development director, lots of different titles for that, but the job is balanced between being out in the community and building relationships and sitting behind a desk. If you're sitting behind a desk all the time, you're not effectively doing your job as a development director. If you're only out in the community and you're not running your reports and knowing your metrics, making thank you phone calls, writing thank you notes, preparing your next mailing, working on your development planner, then you're also not being effective. So it's a balance between those two worlds if you're going to be really good and effective at development work. One of the parts of that we talked about at the very beginning of this series was having a plan. What is your plan going to be to increase your donor base? How are you going to steward your donors? What activities are you going to include in your diversified funding streams? And what are the strategies to accomplish each of those in order to bring in the dollars you need to bring in to get your mission fully funded and do all the things that you want to do in the course of a year? Part of that is intentionally planning to increase your community presence. I talk with folks sometimes that are in the community all the time. They get asked to speak at engagements, they get asked to present at lunch and learns, they get asked by the Chamber of Commerce to come and talk about what they're doing or a new program, or they're on the radio station. You know, they're out in the community all the time and they have great opportunities. And then I talk with other organizations that really kind of stay in the office and provide the services they provide, and people may not know a lot about them, and they may not have a really good brand, and people might not exactly understand what it is that they do. It's hard to get new donors to come on board when the community as a whole doesn't truly understand what it is that you do and the services that you provide. Sometimes I work with organizations that have been around for a long time, maybe 50 years, and they don't really have a brand. People don't know exactly what it is they do. There's several organizations like that in the community where I live. I've heard their name forever. I know that they've been around for a long time, but I have no idea what they do. I would have to go to their website or call and find out what it is they do, what services they're providing, programs they have, projects they're involved in. What you want to do is think about what makes sense for your organization. Is it trying to get in and speak to church groups? Is it trying to get in and present to congregations? Is it speaking at civic engagements? So that could be like the Rotary, Kiwanis, the Women's League, those types of locations. Is it doing presentations at lunch and learns? So maybe you're involved in a medical service program where it might behoove you to go and meet with medical providers and do a lunch and learn for their staff, which they often do, in order to tell them about what your services are and what you do and how you guys might partner. Maybe it is being a keynote speaker at an event. Maybe it is doing tours of your program or project and having people in the community come in and take tours to learn more about what you do. I have organizations that I have worked with and that I do work with that do that on a regular basis. They have a small group of people come in, they take them on a tour of their different locations, talk about the programs that they offer, let them see them firsthand, provide them with a small boxed lunch, give them an engagement form and ask them how they might like to participate in the future, if they would like to become a volunteer in what area, tell them a little bit about a need so they can make an ask if they want to while that person is there, get them on the mailing list. So it's a great way to get folks engaged. And sometimes those organizations will even choose a specific group of people in the community and ask them to come at the same time for a tour. So maybe it's a group of pastors or a group of CEOs or a group of women they might like to recruit at some point in the future to help lead a project, and they want to get them all in the same room. So maybe it's a small group, 8 to 10 people, and then they're going to target their presentation, their conversation, their tour to those individuals. Most of the time it's whoever signs up for the tour, because they do them maybe twice a month on a particular day, and they know this is part of our schedule and this is what we're doing, so we're trying to fill up tours. That's another way to purposefully increase your community exposure. Maybe you want to reach out and see if you can get some interviews set up. I have a client right now who's in the middle of starting their first capital campaign, and yesterday they called me and said, we're going to be in the newspaper tomorrow. The newspaper called us and asked us about X, Y, and Z, and we were telling them about the potential for an expansion project, and so they asked a little more about it, and we're going to be in the paper tomorrow. So they reach out to people reach out to them, and then they get stories printed. They make phone calls and they get on radio stations to talk about the programs and projects they're providing, because it's a captive audience in their area. Maybe they're submitting press releases. There's a lot of different ways that you can get out and increase your community awareness. Maybe you're putting rack cards out in appropriate community places to talk about what it is you're doing. Maybe you're putting flyers up about an upcoming event or an upcoming program that you're wanting to increase enrollment in, or that you need volunteers for. There's a ton of different ways to increase your community presence. Maybe it's some of your staff serve on boards that make sense, that are appropriate for that staff position, but so the boards can then learn more about what it is you do and how you guys can partner when those partnerships make sense. So I encourage you to think about getting out in the community in a purposeful way, setting an intentional list of objectives for how you want to do that, whether it's this year or during next year's development planning time. You know, we're getting ready to end the second quarter here, so we're getting ready to jump into the third and fourth quarters, and now it's time to start thinking about what you want to do for next year and how you want to accomplish it. You can start implementing some of those things this year, but I encourage you to figure out how you're going to increase your community presence intentionally. Maybe it's participating in a community health fair or a community farmers market, or you know, some type of event where you can have a table and really have captive audience of people who are interested in learning more about what it is that you do. Once you can do that, you will have the opportunity to increase your donors. You'll have an opportunity to increase your potential donors, your prospects, because those people that you're meeting out in the community very well could want to learn more about and become engaged in what it is that you do. So that is a big part of development work, and it takes the whole organization. Like they say, it takes a community to raise a child. It takes a whole organization to increase awareness about what it is that you do. It's your job as a development director to kind of create some of those and then disperse them out into the organization and explain to people how they can help in that process, so you don't have to be the Lone Ranger. And I hope that this has been helpful. Check back in with us tomorrow for day 16 of how to increase your donor base in 20 days. If you are enjoying these free videos, please feel free to subscribe to our channel and join our community of learners here on YouTube. And you can also follow us on Facebook at Funding for Good.